Module 13, Cognitive Development of Infants and Toddlers. Cognitive development. It talks about how infant psychological processes involved in thinking and knowing develop into young children in infancy. Refers to development in the way a baby thinks. This includes his or her language, communication, and exploration skills. Example of cognitive activities: remembering learning to talk, interacting with toys, identifying faces. Yung mga example nito, natututo yung mga bata na magsalita, mag-interact sa mga laruan, at makakilala ng mga tao. For example is, bakit ayaw sa atin ng ibang bata? Kasi first time lang nila tayong nakikita. Hindi sila familiar sa mukha natin. Ganon. This module 13 will focus on the sensory motor stage, the first stage on Piaget's theory of cognitive development that covers the infant and the toddler's cognitive development. This stage begins at birth and continues until about the age of 2. During the sensory motor period, they respond to immediate stimuli, what they see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, and learning take place through the senses and motor activities. This is the first of the four stages of cognitive development. By coordinating sensory experiences, infants construct understanding of the world. Infants gain knowledge of the world from physical action they perform. It's process from reflexive instinctual action at birth to the beginning of symbolic thought toward the end of the stage. Piaget's 6 substages of sensory motor stage. Simple reflexes. These happen at the birth to 6 months. In the first month of life, infant reflects more reflexes, automatic responses to particular stimuli. Three primary reflexes are described by Piaget: sucking of objects in the mouth, following interesting objects with the eyes, and palmar grasp. Dito, sucking of object in the mouth, yung mga nakikita nilang object ay sinusubo nila. Diba nakikita naman natin sa mga baby na ganun. Next is yung following interesting object. Kapag nakakita sila ng mga bagay na nakaka-interesado sa kanila, is sinusundan talaga nila. Minsan, nagtataka tayo bakit kapag nilagay natin dito yung isang bagay tapos nilipat natin doon, susundan talaga ng mata nila, nakafocus lang sila dun sa isang object. And last, yung palmar grasp is yung parang nag-hold na yung mga kamay nila. May mga hinahawakan, ganun, parang ganun, or something na akala natin is hinahawakan nila. Pero yung totoo, parang inaabot nila. Ganun. O kaya hawak-hawak na nila. First habit and primary circular reaction praise. This happened in the 6 weeks into the 4 months. It involves coordinating sensation and new schemas in the first few months of life. Infants' behavior are focused almost exclusively on their own bodies. Example, a child may suck her or his thumb by accident, then later intentionally repeat at the action. For tulad ng example natin na a child suck his thumb by accident, then later intentionally repeat at the action. Pag yung bata, yung parang feeling niya is masaya or masarap yung pag-suck ng kamay niya sa bibig niya, inuulit-ulit niya na yun. Right? Kasi, yun yung pleasurable or para sa kanya is masaya na gawin. Kaya nga, diba minsan kahit pinipilit natin tanggalin yung kamay ng bata sa bibig niya, hindi natin natanggal. Kasi, dun siya nakakaramdam ng pleasure or ng saya. Ibig sabihin nun, dun na nade-develop yung first habit niya. Yung pagsasak ng tongue. Pagsasak ng finger sa mouth. Next is the secondary circular reactions that happen 4 to 8 months of the infant. In this stage, the infants become more object and oriented, moving beyond self-preoccupation, repeat action that bring interesting or pleasurable result. This stage is associated primarily with the development of coordination between vision and prehension. For example, a 4-month-old accidentally knocks a toy hanging in front of her, producing a fascinating swinging motion, and attempts to repeat this effect. Ibig sabihin nun, pag yung bata, yung baby, di ba, accidentally niya na nakatok yung toy na nakasabit. Tapos nag-produce siya ng motion na parang sinusundan niya. Ibig sabihin nun is nagde-develop na yung coordination between vision and prehension niya. Nag-explore siya at the same time natututo na siya na kapag pala ninak niya yung toy, magpuproduce siya ng motion na susundan niya. Ganun yung nasa isip niya. Kaya, nire-repeat niya yung action to observe kung parehas pa ba yung magiging effect. Nun. Next is coordination of reaction stage secondary circular happen in the between 8 to 12 months of the baby. Coordination of vision and touch hand-eye, coordination of schemas intentionally. This stage is associated primarily with the development of logic and the coordination between means and ends. Example, when an infant sees a string of a pull toy near her, rather than crawling over the toy, she might instead reach out and grab the string and then purposely pull the string in order to acquire the toy. Ibig sabihin dito, natututo na yung mga bata to think logically, to develop, na pagsasabay na nila. Yung example nga natin, di ba? Nakikita yung bata ng toy na meron siyang string. Imbis na pumunta siya dun sa toy para kunin yun, naisip na lang niya na hilain yung string para makuha yung toy, para yung toy mismo is mapunta sa kanya. Diba? Natututo na, nakakapag-isip na yung bata kahit papano para mapabilis or para magawa niya yung gusto niyang gawin. Next is the tertiary circular reaction, novelty, and the curiosity that happens between the 12 to 18 months of the baby. Infants become intrigued by the many properties of objects and by many things that they can make happen to the object. They experiment with the new behavior. Piaget described the child at this juncture as the young scientist. For example, yung bata, nakakita siya ng bato. Bukod sa bato, ano pang pwedeng gawin sa bato? 'Di ba? Nag-e-experiment na siya kung anong gagawin, kung ano pang ibang gamit ng bato. So, ginawa niyang laruan yung bato. Pwede din ginawa niyang nagbahay-bayan sila, ginawa niyang pera. O kaya nung nakakita siya ng tubig, tinapon niya dun yung bato, nakita niya nagkaroon ng effect. Diba? Dito, nagiging young scientist na nga yung mga bata. Nag-observe na sila kung paano gagawin or paano magagamit yung isang bagay. Kaya nga sila tinawag na young scientist. Ginagawa na nila in their own. And lastly, internalization of schemes happen between the 18 to 24 months of the baby. Infants develop the ability to use primitive symbols and form enduring mental presentation. This stage is associated primarily with the beginnings of insight or true creativity. For example, a 19-month-old baby bumps his new push toy against a wall and pauses for a moment as if thinking, then immediately turn the toy in the new direction. Ibig sabihin, nade-develop na dito ng bata yung form of mental presentation na kapag tinulak niya yung toy at may pader, hindi pwedeng idire-diretso dun yung toy, which is babangga talaga siya at hindi siya tatagos sa pader. Kaya naisip niya na imbis na pilitin na idiretso yung toy, pwede namang iliko to continue what his or her doing, right? Ganun yun. In all, acquiring the same object permanence is one of the infant's most important accomplishment according to Piaget. Object permanence is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when the objects are not immediately perceptible through the senses. Before the infant's acquisition of the senses of object permanence, the principle that apply is out of sight and out of mind. What should we learn and remember? Do infants learn and remember? Yes, Pavlov's classical conditioning and Skinner operant conditioning have been proven to apply to infants. All of us experience infantile amnesia, the inability to recall events that happened when we're very young. Generally, we can remember little or nothing that has happened to us before the age of about 5 years old, and it is extremely rare for someone to recall many memories before 3 years old. These reports of childhood memories usually involve memories of significant events. Language development. From day one, infants appear to be programmed to tune on their linguistic environment with the specific goal of acquiring language. Infants clearly have remarkable acute language learning activities even from an early stage. Within the first year of life, we humans seem to progress through the following stages in producing language. Number 1. Cooing, which promises consonants as well as vowel sounds. Infant produce soft vocalization around 3 months of age. Next, number 2. Babbling, which compromises consonant as well vowel sound to most people's ears, and babbling of infants growing up among speakers from different language groups sounds very similar. For example, like ba 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 or na 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 na. Next is number 3, one word utterances. These utterances are limited in both the vowel and the consonant they utilize. Example, usually they refer to the important people like mama, dada, animals like doggy, kitty, objects that move like ball, car, foods like milk, apple, familiar actions like bye-bye or more, or outcomes of a familiar actions like wet or hot. Number 4 is the two-word utterance and telegraphic speech. For example, is the go car, mommy shoe, door open, or where daddy go. And number 5 is the basic adult sentence structural represent about the age 4 with the continuing vocabulary of the acquisition. As children become more sophisticated in their language, overgeneralize rules in ways that are inconsistent with the common usage. Example, I come home for instead of I came home, sometimes called creative grammar. Holopays. To convey intentions, desire, and demands, usually the words are nouns describing familiar object the child observes. For example, book, ball, baby, ice cream, like that. The general term for any kind of four-legged animal may be doggy. At nang nakikita niya na four-legged animal, pwede niyang masabi na isang dog. In linguistics, this is called overextension error. The two-word of three-word utterances with the rudimentary syntax but with articles preposition missing are referred to as telegraphic speech. In summary, language acquisition device, the innate biological ability to humans to acquire and develop language. The LAD was developed by linguist Noam Chomsky, who contributed to the field of cognitive psychology through his language research. His challenge to prevailing behaviorist theory that language was acquired through exposure to it in our environment. Our capacity for language is the same all over the world in wildly different cultures and environments. Dito sinabi ni Chomsky na language was acquired through exposure of the environment. Ibig sabihin, natututo tayo ng mga language dahil sa mga tao sa paligid natin or with our environment. For example, ikaw is Englishera ka. Bakit ka Englishera? Kasi yung environment mo is puno ng mga tao na mga nagsasalita ng Ingles. Kung ako ay Pangasinense at nagsasalita ako ng Pangasinan, ibig sabihin yung environment ko kasi ay puno ng mga tao na nagsasalita ng Pangasinan. Dahil doon, nagagaya ko sila or natututo ako ng mga salita na yun. Pag pumunta ka sa ibang lugar at nasanay ka doon, matututo ka din ng mga salita nila. Ganon ang sinabi ni Chomsky, which is sa tingin ko ay totoo naman.